Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Welcome back to our pastor's chat. I'm Tim.
I'm Dave.
We're glad you're tuning in, and we're excited to just talk with you, chat for a little bit about what's going on here at Calvary. Also, letting you guys get to know us a little bit. We think it's fun for you to get to know the things you might never learn about your pastors.
Yeah.
And we got a fun one that we're going to start with today. I think we're calling it "What things you caught in your childhood," or
Right.
a childhood story.
Yeah.
What you caught, I think, is where we honed in.
Right. So what you've caught, and we're not talking about the measles, the mumps, the flu.
We did. Well, I didn't have any of those.
Okay, but we're more thinking of in my family we would catch little toads that were in the yard, and we'd stick them in aquariums for a while, and then and we'd do that. For a while I would keep ants. I'd collect ants and stick them in my aquarium, and maybe stick in a little thing of peanut butter so that they had something to eat.
Nice. Did you do with the ants? Did you have put them in the glass one so you could watch them build their?
That kind of was the theory, but you couldn't see anything unless they built it right up against the edge.
Yeah.
I did have, as a kid, a little ant farm that was more the purchased kind. It was a gift, and so you could see if they dug, and there were little connectors, tubes, and it could go from one to the other. Yeah, so mine are pretty boring. Let's hear your list, because your list is fairly extensive, isn't it?
Right. I started thinking about this.
You had to write it down. There were so many.
I did have to write it down because I realized I was going to forget them, and I still think there are some that are forgotten. But just to give you a little background, I grew up kind of in a woodsy area. No one really lived there. There was a small neighborhood, and my parents kind of had the philosophy of, hey, kids, go outside. You just need to go enjoy yourselves and explore. And there was 4 of us in my family, so we were kind of always together. I always asked my mom, how did you know we were going to be safe? She goes, I figured if one of you got hurt, the other one would help. I was like, all right. So we caught, here's my list. I'll start here, and then I'll highlight one. We caught ducklings, gosling, fish, skunk, flying squirrel, starlings. I did catch a dove, and I ate it. Fence lizard.
These are all by hand.
Yes, everything.
No traps.
No, everything except the cat. We caught a cat too, and that was by a trap and then I named it Thevester.
The Vester.
Yeah.
Not Sylvester the cat.
Thevester, because I couldn't pronounce it.
Okay.
A fence lizard, a bat, turtles, frogs, toads, goose, duck, many, many different types of snakes, and then a full-grown lizard. So that was caught in Mexico. So.
Okay.
And so the highlighted story, just for everyone, is growing up, the person that taught me how to catch everything was actually my older sister. Mm-hmm. And the thing that she always loved, her favorite animal was a snake. She loved snakes. She had so many snakes through her life, and there are many stories with her and snakes. But one thing that would always happen is she eventually taught me how to catch them, and it became this competition of who could catch the bigger snake. And for a long time, she always had it over my head that she had caught like a 2-foot snake, things like that. And the biggest snake that we had in Pennsylvania in that area is we had a water snake, not your water moccasin, but a water snake, a non-venomous, and that was the biggest snake. And one day I was down we had a river, and we lived near a river, and I was down there with a friend, and there was this big snake that was swimming through the water. And I said to my buddy, I gotta catch that thing. He goes, how are you gonna catch that thing? I said, I don't know, I'm just gonna jump on top of it. And I said, my sister growing up told me that if you push the snake under the water, it can't bite you underwater. So this is what she told me. So after a couple failed attempts of trying to jump on the snake, I eventually tell my friend, why don't you point out where it is, and then I'll just move to it. So I kind of got myself around the area where it kept popping his head off, and he pointed it out. I dove on it, plunged it underwater, and then came up with it. And the way I actually caught it was it had bit me many, many times underwater. And I came up, and it was on my arm, and I pulled it off my arm and caught it. But I didn't. People were probably like, "Whoa, that's a little unsafe." Well, I was a young kid that was just so excited that I caught this massive snake. I walked home with so much pride, with a little blood going down my arm.
And how big was it?
It was over 3 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I was pretty happy. So that is a story from my childhood
This
about
is catch
catching
and release, of course.
Yes, it is. My parents had to make a rule that everything had to go back after 2 days. There was actually a rule. I always laugh that my parents had to make a rule about, and they had to make a rule about how much we brought back, because there was a point we brought 2 5-gallon buckets of toads home. Yes. So
it wasn't quite the plagues of Egypt, but living in your house growing up was close.
I sometimes wonder how my parents got through it. So, but I'm here today. But if you ever have questions, that is the odd thing. People go like, really? That's what you're doing in your childhood? So feel free to ask. So we wanted to move on to talk about some wonderful things that are going on here at Calvary.
Yeah.
And even though some of us might say this has been a very trying and difficult time, and it has been, it's been hard on families. We know it's also been tough to be in our houses like this, and work has stopped. But when it comes to, as a church, of how we've seen some amazing things happen through online streaming and stuff, we want to talk about the positive things that have come from this epidemic.
Yeah. So we always say we want to be followers of Jesus who help more people to follow Jesus, and that as followers of Jesus, we obey him, we worship him, we serve him. And one of the things that I'm seeing in this is that our Connect groups have continued to meet together, except now they're just doing it online. I was talking yesterday with somebody, and they had taken a laptop over for one of our elderly members that don't have internet access normally.
That's so awesome.
And so she could be part of her Connect group. And they said just watching her face come alive as she saw each person come onto the screen, it was just precious.
Yeah, and I had a phone call the other day that someone called me just asking, hey, is there a way for people to be able to call into these Zoom meetings so that we can get such and such on, because they don't have the ability to get online? And we were able to figure it out. And I've just been amazed of how much love has been shown to all the people in our church of trying to make sure they're connected, and having conversations and praying together, looking at God's Word together, and fellowshipping together.
Yeah. I've also seen, and I guess not seen, but it's been reported to me that people are inviting their friends to church that would have never come to church before. One lady told me that she has friends of 30 and 40 years that they've recently started doing Bible study together. And now at least one and maybe more of her friends are coming to church and hearing answers to questions that they had.
That's amazing.
Someone else reported to us that another friend of theirs who lives in a country where it's illegal for them to hear the gospel and respond in faith, they're tuning in and hearing the gospel, so that we could never go to them.
Right.
And they're doing it. Another person tells me of some acquaintances that they have in another state. It would probably take 15 hours to drive there, and yet there's a family connection there. And the believers in the house, one in particular, is listening. And I think the others are sometimes in the room, but listening, summarizing, and then letting them know what was going on in the service and in the sermon. And so people are hearing the gospel that we didn't even know about.
Yeah. And it's been amazing to me that I was looking on, we use YouTube a lot, and we get to see kind of, gives you some charts and stuff like that. And one of them was about where your audience is located, mainly by country. And it's amazing that it's not 100% the United States.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it's 75%, which means there's 25% of people that are not from the U.S. watching. But it's been crazy to think about that it's not just one person. There are multiple people, not even from the United States, that are tuning in, are hearing the good news of Jesus Christ. So talk about making disciples from all around. It's amazing what streaming has allowed us to do for the gospel.
Yeah, but it's not just from far away. We're also seeing people involved online that we have not seen in church or haven't seen in church in a while.
Yep.
And they are engaging with us and participating and listening, and it's just been a really great way for us to engage with more people that need to know about Jesus.
And it has been asked many times. People have said that, are we going to keep doing this? And we've kind of mentioned this, but we are. And we are going to make sure that we are able to do it in a way that it's still done well with excellence, and will continue to reach those that are near and far, and those that have said that I can't get to church, but this way that you guys have been doing church has made me feel, someone had said to me, I feel connected again. And I think what is that they couldn't get here anymore and they missed it. And I thought that was really touched my heart a lot to know that.
Of course, when we do it in the future, it's going to look different to those of us that are in the room now.
Right.
Because in the room now, if you were there in the room now, there's lights in the front. there's microphones in the middle of pews. There's cameramen sitting in the middle of the aisles. Computer person in the middle of an aisle. There's other cameras off in the side in the middle of pew. It's just the room is looking a little chaotic right now.
One of the things that made me laugh that you said that, people have said, hey, can we make the background a little bit more alive, or so that it's not so plain? And we took care of that because we agreed. Like, oh yeah, we need that. And Dave said at one point, he said, if they got to see what I see every Sunday, it wouldn't be so plain.
Yes.
Because we are moving around and there's so much odd things going on in the room right now.
Sometimes there's noises. There's been car alarms going off in the parking
yes.
lot. There's been
my phone.
Your phone was going off one time. This week, I don't know if you knew it or not, but I could hear the laptop in the back that was on about a 6-second delay from what I was saying. And so it was echoing back to me at that huge delay time.
So these are the things that are going on behind the scenes on Sunday morning. Well, talking about Sunday, we like to get you all ready for what is coming this Sunday. And I think it's another way for, if you hear the discussion that's coming up, that you have friends or people or that need to hear this, and for ourselves, that it prepares our hearts to hear the word or to even read the scripture beforehand. We want to talk about the sermon coming this Sunday.
Sure. So we continue in our Tell Me Why series. For the last 2 weeks, we've been asking the question, why do bad things happen to good people? This week we're switching it around and we're asking, tell me why evil isn't punished, which is another way of saying, why do good things happen to bad people? And so it's kind of the reverse of what we've done before. This week we're looking at the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk is an Old Testament prophet who was living at a time when he recognized that his people, God's people, were not following God. And he said, God, what you've done in the past is you've used judgment, you've used oppression and suffering in order to remind us that we need to turn back to you. Why aren't you doing that? And God gives him an answer that he actually doesn't like. And God says, yes, I'm going to do that. And you're not going to believe what I'm going to do. And God was right. Habakkuk was like, God, you can't do that. You can't judge us that way and use those people. And Habakkuk had to come to a place of faith. And his place of faith was also a place of not just trust, but of absolute worship, that what God said was good, what God said was right, and that his response had to be a response of faith.
So join us this Sunday online. The link, we make that link available. And if you ever want that link earlier, you can always reach out to the church office. We can get it to you if you would like to share it with friends or get yourself prepared for
it. It pops up on my YouTube feed Monday morning for the following Sunday. It's there.
Right.
So just go to the church YouTube.
Yeah, if you want alerts, if you subscribe to the channel, our YouTube channel, it'll keep you updated on what's going on. All right, now we know many of you are tuning in this week as well because...
One reason.
Right, the golf ball challenge, right? We had this, I don't have it on screen this morning, but we had this big, what was it, like a big plastic bowl of golf balls, and it was a competition going on Facebook that who could guess the number of golf balls in that without going over, right? My guess was 3,000.
Yeah, you were maybe just a touch over.
Yeah, and then online I went with...
I suspected that.
Right. Yeah. I think I might have been right with you said the dimples on the ball.
That could be right, yeah.
And then online I said 7.
Yeah.
So...
Ish. 7-ish.
Right, ish, right.
So, I mean, depending on how wide ish is, maybe you were right.
Yes. All right, so we're going to take it. I mean, I think it's always best for winners, so we're going to go from third
All right.
to first.
Drum roll, please.
All right. All right, in third place, we had a guess of 140 coming from Kay Fleming.
All right.
Give it up to Kay Fleming.
Yeah.
Very good, Kay
Good
Fleming.
job, Kay.
All right, now moving into second place from our younger crowd, we have another guess of
What are you saying about Kay?
Well, you know, she's not as young as this individual.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah.
This person guessed the same number but was first, guessed 140. It was Molly Ure.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yep.
Molly's what? She is our younger crowd.
Yeah,
She's
that's right.
7 or 8?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And now in first place. Guessing it perfectly.
Perfectly.
Perfect.
All right.
142 golf balls.
142.
Ellen Baca. Ladies and gentlemen,
Way to go, Ellen. All
Baca.
right.
All right, so they get the first place gets first choice, second place second, third gets third. The gift cards are Wedgwood, $20 gift card, Coopersburg Diner, $15 gift card, and the Inside Scoop for $10 gift card. So we'll be getting those gift cards out shortly. Make sure you congratulate the winners. Some honorable mentions. We had some honorable mentions from the other people, Patty Spiel, 132, Michelle, 133, Leanne, 134, Christine, 135, Elizabeth, 137, and Robin, 139. Lots of people were really close. A few people that had guessed over. Gene, Isaac, 144, 150. So lots of people guessed well. We're going to probably do more things like this online.
Yeah,
so
that was great to see. That was fun to see all the interaction on that. So keep looking at that
Facebook
the Facebook group. Absolutely. And there's some good stuff in there.
Well, thank you for tuning into our Pastor's Chat, and we'll see you again later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
13?
16.
Okay.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. I went too far on that childhood.
That's fine.